started. I want to respect you guys' time. And if anyone else can join us, hopefully they'll come in. Oh, here comes some people. Went ahead and I dropped the agenda in the chat, but let me go ahead and drop it in there again so Marjorie can get it if she needs it. But it's also attached to the email that I sent. So if you would like to pull that up, you're more than welcome to, just to kind of see what we're going to be going over today. If you will drop your name in the attendance box with your campus first so that we can get started. I'll give you a couple seconds to do that. And then we'll go ahead and start with celebrations. We got these new computers at the office, and this morning I got here and I realized that they took my webcam with my old computer, and I was like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna Zoom? So I had to go run and get one and set it up really fast. I was so grateful that I got here early enough to do that. But I'm here now and we're working. Come some more people. But I did want to, here we go. Good morning, Alexis. Good morning, Kathleen. Welcome. We're just joining in on the agenda that I sent yesterday and adding your name and your campus in the attendance box. And then we'll go ahead and get started so I can respect you guys' time. Don't want to keep you here too long.
Okay, I'll drop in and add my name. I was late to Jake. Once I get to my
okay, no problem.
bathroom.
Good morning, thank you.
Good morning. Okay, yeah, whenever you guys get the chance, we'll go ahead and get started. Does anyone want to start with some celebrations up from since the last time we met? Some good things going on. It could be in school, out of school. I know Wendy was sharing her awesome trip to Costa Rica. That was pretty great. Kawan is trying to say something. There she goes.
I was trying to find my mic. That's a celebration. I found my mic. I got my IRLA done.
Yay!
We're working on Common Lit. I'm trying to get my students doing their assessment, which is really great, you guys. I found some great new tools. Once I kind of work out all the bugs and stuff, I'm going to share it, but Common Lit is so fabulous with all the different things that you can do with it. It even has differentiated instructions on it too, so you can differentiate each kid's reading level. And so I'm just trying to work that out. Once I figure it out, I'm going to share it. But I'm so
I love Common Lit.
Huh?
I love Common Lit.
Me too. I want to thank my coworkers, Vanetta and Cherry. You guys are awesome. Thank you for helping me. I probably would have drowned over here, but yes, thank you so much.
That's awesome. Good to hear. Good morning, Joel. Any other celebrations?
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
I leveled my kids on read theory, but I haven't. What is Common Lit?
Kawana, do you want to go ahead and
So the Common Lit, it's more of a reading assessment, comprehension skills level. It actually, once you start, once you put them in, they do a reading assessment. It gives you all the different levels. And you know what? Let me see if I can share it. But it breaks it down and you get a chance to see how they scored in each different level. And then you can work from those different levels, which I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, this is great. So I can look at that kid and I can pick out, it's just kind of like, what's the other one? Newsella.
Okay.
The reading level, and whatever genre or whatever you're doing in class to fit that student. So it's a really good tool, but I can share my some of the scores and how the breakdown was with my kids, and then how I can use that differentiated instructions to bring them up to the levels that we want to have for the goals that
Okay.
we set.
The read theory is similar, and then they have, what they do is they give them it's a assessment, and then it breaks it down and puts them in the level where they need to be. And then each time they log on to it, they read passages that are at their level. And as they are successful on that, then they'll move them up a little bit, move them up a little bit. And then each week it gives me like, we don't do it as often as I'd like to, but I try to do it at least once a week with them. Then they send me a report to let me know where the kids' levels are. So I just really got them on there a couple weeks ago, and they're actually getting into it now. It's taking me a little while to get it going, but
So that's called reading theory?
read theory. Yeah.
Is that a paid or is it free?
It's free for the basic, but if you want to get more, which would be nice, you have to pay. But I'm just doing that part. And actually, like, I'll pull out, it has assignments and thing on it. So like I pulled out because I was out for 3 days for my trip to Costa Rica, which was amazing. It was a gifted trip, and I could have never done it otherwise, but it was quite an experience, I have to say.
Can you share that website with us?
Yeah, it's I'll type it down here. It's just called Read Theory. And it's just, I think I just put in, like, and then here's my, like, I could print out, like I printed out all my Lexile levels, and then I figured out grade. It tells you Lexile and grade levels on each kid. And there's quizzes they take, and then there's actual assignments that I can pull off there. And let's say my kid's reading at, you know, a 615 Lexile level, I can go in there and pull that off and give them that. And then I can go pull off one at a 5th grade level. I have kids as low as a 1st grade level, so I can go pull things off. And so far, I mean, my average level in my class program is between like a 2.5 to a 3.5 is kind of it gives you a class average for every class. So then if I want to do something as a class, I can kind of pick that middle level. So it might be a little hard for some, but a little easy for some others. So I didn't share it. I tried. Hold on.
Yeah, that's one of the things I like about Common Lit. It has questions built into it, so that to check for comprehension, and if you're working on inferencing, text comprehension, inferencing, things like that.
Yes, and that's and I shared it with Linda Bullard as well, and she's like, "Oh my God." And I said, "Yes, and you're the master who taught me." Actually, we taught together when I was math and she was English, and then she left to go to Harlan, and I think that was the year they made me English.
I totally agree. Because I know, Sherry, with Common Lit, the questions, it even gives you the TEKS. And for us that are struggling with, if we have the junior students, we don't have that data to actually look at like our common assessments. But you look at those TEKS and the ones that they were having struggles with, we can actually use that for our PLAF. So I really like the Common Lit.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. That's, I mean, what these meetings are for. I'm so glad that y'all have been collaborating on stuff like that. So Common Lit so far and Read Theory seem to be really successful amongst you guys. Any other celebrations anyone wants to share? Things that have been working. Kind of get to that a little bit later, but any other celebrations?
I had my first walkthrough and they knocked it out of the park. So I'm happy.
Nice. Awesome. Congrats, Sherry. I know those can seem sometimes really intimidating. I know whenever someone would walk into my room, I'd be like, oh my God, please, nothing happened. But that's great. All right, let's go ahead and move on. I'm going to go ahead and type readtheory.org in our agenda notes. If you guys haven't opened up the agenda and you would like it, I'm going to go ahead and paste the link again in the chat. And if you came in a little bit late, there's an opportunity for you to type your name and your campus in the attendance box. But we'll go ahead and move on. I'm gonna try to share my screen with you guys. And if you can't see what I see, then please someone speak up. Let me try to check the chat. I think I just saw somebody. It's so hard to see everything in one screen. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I have two screens, I have two monitors and my laptop set up on my desk.
Sure, yeah. Marjorie, we will get to a section at the end where you can share, and also you can type some stuff in the chat too, if you would like, while I'm talking. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to show you guys was this virtual training on Learning Ally that the Special Education Department has put out in the newsletter. Here's the poster. And so I know we talked a little bit about Learning Ally last time. And this program is just phenomenal if you've used it. But the topic for this training is initial implementation of Learning Ally. So if you haven't set up your teacher's dashboard, managing students, adding books to your bookshelf, this is going to go over that kind of stuff. But there are 3 sessions. One of them is October 27th. The second one is November 2nd. And then the next one is November 3rd. You don't have to go to all of them. I think it just choose one that you would like to. And so I wanted to share that with you guys so that if you are interested in Learning Ally and you want a little bit more information, you haven't set yourself up on that, you're more than welcome to sign up for that training.
Can I do a plug for Learning Ally?
I'm sorry?
Can I do a plug for Learning Ally?
Yeah, I think so.
I use Learning Ally a lot because it reads the book to the students, and it also highlights the line that it's reading. And so when I do my novel units, like I'm in a novel unit right now, or novel units, because I have different books for different grade levels, but they have the book, the physical copy of the book. I put the chapter on the board, on the projector. And so through Learning Ally, it's reading to them. And then we stop periodically to answer the questions for the chapter packet that I have them working on for their comprehension. But it's really nice because if a student's absent, they can take their packet home and they can go in and listen to what they missed and try, and you can stop it and restart it at any point. So if you hear something you think is the answer, hit pause, go in, write your answer, then hit unpause, and it continues with the story. So I love it.
That's wonderful. Thank you, for sharing that, Sherry. I know that when we get into these short story units or literature units, I know that can be a really awesome tool as well. Another opportunity to show, student choice and them to get the opportunity to choose what they want to read. I know that I'm going to show you guys a little bit of the practice test with the STAR, some of the cool things that they have when with kids have oral admin, it kind of goes through and reads. I'm assuming that Learning Ally is something very, very similar. So if they can get in the habit of using tools like that, be beneficial for them in the future as well. All right, so anything else with Learning Ally? Thank you, Sherry, for sharing that. Okay, so the next thing is CDBs. So if you haven't administered CDBs with your applied kids, I know that some campuses kind of keep that optional to you guys, but I prefer for you guys to give them the CDBs just so you can see where they're at and that they're exposed to the test, and especially retesters and with the new STAR coming out, that they're exposed to the new question types and things like that. So I went ahead and linked the English 1 and the English 2 benchmark that we've sent out. If you haven't had access to that, those are there. So I'll go ahead and open up this one. So it has like a little rationale. It has the prompt and the rubric here, and then the scoring rubric as well, and then the guidelines. And then what we've provided for you guys also is some text structures that you guys can edit or make a copy and edit for your applied kids if you need to. That will help them with the essay portion. So I'm just going to open one of these up. This is one by character. So if they're doing like a literary analysis and you want to show them how to kind of set up their essay or their essay response, it's a really great graphic organizer for them to be able to use that kind of goes with one type of essay on English 1. So there's that, multiple
You
different
can't see
types.
it.
Oh, you can't see any of this?
No.
Interesting. Let me see.
I thought it was just me and I'm up here looking at all the buttons, like what did I not click? Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Can you guys see it now? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I don't know. That was weird. Why did it do that? Anyways, so these are linked in here. If you click on English 1, it'll show you the benchmark. And then down here are those text structures that I was telling you about. A really good way to show them how to organize their essays. There is still a lot of unknown with the STAR, but I did want to show you as well, if you haven't dabbled in, let me see if this is going to show, no share. Okay. Yeah. So if you guys go to this website, texasassessment.gov practice test, this kind of walks you through what you could do with your students to expose them a little bit to the new release tests. So you would go down here and you would click on practice tests login and then sign in. And then they would choose their grade level. I'm just going to pick 9. And then the 2022 STAR redesign practice tests. And then you would click STAR 2022 STAR redesign English 1 practice test. And then here is when you can click their accommodations that they'll have access to. So they can have text to speech, content and language supports, Zoom, colored settings, spelling assistance, text to speech. I'm just going to click a couple of these so you guys can see what it looks like. So when you go to begin test now, some of like the words, if you kind of hover over them or click on them, it shows the kids like what that word is with a picture, or sometimes it'll give you like a different word, a synonym for that word, a simplified word. And then it also does it in the question too. And then of course, if you picked the oral admin, it would go ahead and start reading the passage to them. And the question if they wanted it to be read too. So I just wanted to show you guys what, I know we don't have a lot of information on what the accommodated STAR is. They haven't released any sort of accommodated practice. I mean, you know, this is what it is. It's not really, they haven't released any accommodated benchmarks or anything like that. But if you think it's going to be beneficial for you to take the benchmarks that were released and accommodate them for your kiddos, just to give them some exposure, you know, maybe throughout the semester, then you're more than welcome to do that. I just wanted to show you guys that. Okay, you guys can.
Oh, what is the site for that?
Oh, okay. So if you go into the agenda and you click this practice test with accommodations,
Okay.
it's yeah, on the very, very top of that document. And so any questions about CDBs or EOC?
So are the CDBs already set up with the modifications for the applied kids, or do we have to go in and put the?
You have to go in and do that.
Okay.
Yeah. So
okay. I didn't know if this was just for us.
Yeah, and usually like whenever we have stuff released from the state, they will come out with accommodated versions of the benchmarks, but they haven't even given us regular benchmarks to give out. These were created here in central office. So yeah, unfortunately with so much unknown from TEA, you kind of have to just build the plane in the sky at this point, you know, trying to figure things out.
Deadline on this. What is the deadline for having the CBDs done?
Oh, November 5th, they should be in CMS.
Okay.
Yes. And then it, you know, according to your campus coordinator, you know, there's can be some leniency as far as the administration window. I know it says to October 2nd to the 12th, but we're kind of all on our little schedules right now. But this is just for data that the district can kind of take some samples. Which I think is great. So yeah.
Christina, how many CDs? I'm sorry. How
That's
many
okay.
CDs do we have to have by November 5th? Is it just one or is it all three?
So you have English 1 and English 2. So if you have juniors and seniors that are going to be taking the STAR, recommend that you give them that benchmark.
Okay.
But I would give all of your freshmen and sophomores those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Let's talk about the narrative unit a little bit. Let me stop sharing my screen. I want to know what worked for you guys with the narrative unit, what didn't work, what went well, what you recommend maybe for next year. Does anyone want to share how those went?
Well, for me, just doing a lot of practice ahead of time and just focusing on, breaking it down. Okay, let's look at an introductory paragraph. What do we have to have in it? Looking at short stories, breaking the short stories down into, okay, what parts are there? This is the introduction. Where's the thesis? We find the thesis in it. So just kind of showing them like that. My problem is with my freshmen. My freshmen are functioning at kindergarten level. I think some of those probably should have been in the ALE room, not in applied, but we're working with it.
Yeah, I totally understand that. I know when I was teaching applied, and I really wish we would have done something like this in the beginning of the year, because I think it's a really great way to get to know your kids. And with applied also, just kind of remember, you don't have to always make it like a narrative essay. With them, it's kind of manipulating it into where it's less intense, maybe doing like I know Kelly last year had a template to where she did a little profile that they created for themselves. And more than anything, it's for them for us to get to know them a little bit better, whether that be through like a social media post, a poster with just little things about themselves, but just to kind of go. And what I would like to do is I would like to read and a lot of narrative excerpts from books, just to kind of show them the different pieces of the story type of narrative, that kind of like how you describe yourself to someone else through an experience. And them seeing it and hearing it really encouraged them to want to write their own really good one. And we did a lot of low stakes writing. So, throughout the unit, we would give them a little bit of like short little prompts and give them just some time to free write. And then at the end, maybe of the week, maybe choose one that you really connected with and expand on it a little bit more. And we're going to take a little bit more time to develop that one into something that you really like, or a little bit less of, like okay, this is the essay we're going to start now, and we're going to do this whole process paper. It gives them more choice. It allows them to kind of connect with a topic that they like or want to write about with themselves. So any other things that you guys want to share? Yeah, Kathleen.
So I was actually going to say that what you were talking about, we did a lot of that in my class because I have multiple levels in here at once. So we kind of do a shadow curriculum, and I really loved the writing passes that were included in the YAG this year. And those turned into great foundations for our narrative writing. So reading the writing and then being like, okay, well, think about how does this relate? So for the pie, we were like, okay, tell me about a time where you felt guilty about something. And then I don't know if some of the teachers from last year remember, but the quick write book that Kelly shared with us, I've also used that as a foundation for our narratives for a quick write. So they have like 1 to 2 paragraph narratives or poems and stuff like that. And we did a really cool exercise with that in my class where it was like, I am a runner, I think is the one that I chose from the quick write. And then the students were able to be like, I am whatever, and practice formatting it like a poem. So the things that we did that really worked. So I would second that. I loved the writing passes this year.
Yeah, thanks, Kathleen. That's great to hear, because I know that we've had a lot of success with that in the general ed population as well. And we're still having Kelly Gallagher come out and do some of that stuff and kind of show us that way as well. But one of the things that when we were doing the narrative, a really popular piece was the I wasn't born brave excerpt. And so a lot of teachers would take that word brave out, and then they would tell their students, okay, tell me, you weren't born what? You weren't born honest. You weren't born dependable. And then tell me a story that kind of led up to you being that way. And so giving those sentence stems and things like that can sometimes be really helpful as far as one of your passes or a couple of your passes in a way for the students to imitate an author's craft. So that's really great to hear. Any other thoughts on the narrative?
Hi, this is Harbison.
Mhm.
And this is my first time teaching applied, so I'm kind of learning as we go. But I started off with a kind of an anchor chart, and I gave them each one to show them kind of the expectation of, or all the components of a personal narrative. And then I started off with a picture book, and I had my librarian pull a picture book. I think it's called like Diego Wants a New Bike. And we talked about like the difficulties and the challenges that Diego had in wanting a new bike, and talked about the lesson that he learned. And sometimes it always wasn't a great lesson, but sometimes we do the right thing, even though it's not the one we want to do. So we talked about all the different, and I made sure to go back to the anchor chart to check the components of the personal narrative. And then I decided that I would implement the writing part. So I made a graphic organizer, and we brainstormed all of the small moments. I said, personal narratives are small moments. So I took them through like the brainstorming of all of these small moment story ideas. And I showed the screen on the projector. And as I was typing, it was going live. So I had my laptop, and I made sure that I got a story, a little blurb from each of them, so that they could all see their stories or their little small moments, on the screen. So it also helped with like spelling and any questions. It helped them be brave when it came to sharing their writing. And so by the time it was all over, I had them circle the one that they felt like most strong about. And then from there, I was able to take them into the graphic organizer that I had found that you had put up. And, I felt like the quality of the writing was really going to be in the story, because you can always teach, the closing, you can always teach them the intro individually, but I wanted them to have like a really good quality story. So from that piece, I went ahead and implemented the level text. I was born, I wasn't born perfect or something.
Yeah,
So
wasn't
I
born
took
brave.
them through that as a mentor piece, so that they could see that personal narratives had quotations and people talking, and then a lesson at the end. And so we came back to the writing. We were able to implement the closing and what was the lesson that they had. So it took a little bit to get through all of that, but I was able to also implement revising and editing in there. So they got to pick a word that they wanted to replace with another word, or did we add more details? And I took them through the differences of revising, and then I took them through the differences of editing. So I was able to have colored pieces of cardstock, and I had them write like their changes and and attach them to their draft. So all in all, it took a little bit, but I got some really good writing. I got them brainstorming. They got to share with each other. And so they also got access to the grade level text with a lot of accommodations and modifications, but it acted as as a model text for them so that they could practice their own writing. So I think it went really well. I'm not doing stations yet. I'm still have my English teacher mode on, and I'm, kind of direct teaching and then individually working with them. But I really like the personal narrative. I got some really good writing out of it. So.
That's great, Alexis. I'm so glad you mentioned revising and editing, because we were watching Kelly Gallagher as he was doing this lesson with them in English 1 classroom, and all of us kind of just had an epiphany when he was going through and pacing his lessons out. And it was just a normal literary analysis kind of day where he was looking at poems, and then they were having some free choice writing, and he implemented revising and editing, just kind of low stakes revising and editing throughout the lesson. That was so beneficial. He would stop and say, you know what, I think a better word for this is this. And then he would go on a little bit more, and he'd be like, now look at your writing. pick a word that you think is kind of boring and replace it with a better word. And then the kids would go and do it. And so instead of doing this like whole process paper where don't get me wrong, it's so important for them to learn those foundational skills, especially at applied. But throughout the year, I play with this kind of technique as far as like, instead of doing a whole process paper where at the end we're doing all this revising and editing, kind of do some low stakes revising and editing through the unit. I think it can be really beneficial and get them in the habit of sort of revising and editing as they're writing in the future. But man, I'm so happy that you use that mentor text, and the ability for them to show each other their writing is so beneficial as well. Gallery walks are a really great way for those things to happen as well. We used to post their essays kind of outside in the hallway and give them some time to go and read each other's and leave post-its on comments. And it was a really good morale boost, especially in the beginning of the year. And not only did we get to know the students, but it gives the opportunity for the students to get to know each other and to find like some common ground. So I really love that unit so much. And I've also kind of thought about the idea of revisiting the narrative at the end of the year, kind of has like a way to close it out, and how has your narrative changed, or if you were to write a different one or another one, just kind of to show their own growth throughout the year. So great. Anything else on the narrative?
Yeah.
Great things. Yeah, Joel.
I too, this is my first year with Applied, and when we got to the narrative unit, I focused on the plot diagram, and I said every video that you all watch follows this diagram, and every commercial you see kind of follows the same diagram, and so I went through each step, and then I had some model narratives. And so I shared it with them, and if we got to one thing, I said, okay, this is the exposition. So write exposition over on the side. And so each step of that process, I identified that so that they would understand what is going on. And so when we got through, I had them to write theirs. And so I said, you have to make sure you write what lesson you learned. And so then after they did the little writing, then it was painstakingly, but it was worth it. I color coded everything. So if I said, if it's highlighted red, that letter needs to be a capital letter. And if it was green, the word was misspelled.
Yeah.
And so I just took a little bit at a time, and because I did it on the Chromebook, we put it in school. I was able to go out and color code those things. And so I just said, right now, I just want you to focus on everything that's red, because that's supposed to be a capital letter. And so they were able to do it. I tried to do it verbally, but I said, no, I can't do this. So I had to wait till I got through with all of them, and then I told them what changes to make. So we didn't get through, but I still want to go back to it again.
I love that. And like the color coding, I was such a big fan of that too when I was in the classroom. And I think the kids really respond to it. They're like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, now I can like, they love those keys, those map keys, with social studies and stuff like that. But
Oh yeah.
that's great. Thank you for sharing that, Joel. I do want to ask you guys if you have used something that you feel like has worked, or created something, or found something. Don't forget to go drop it in that folder so that everyone can see in the shared drive. I actually want to show you where that is again if you haven't found it. So you should be able to see my portal. If you can't, someone speak up. Can everyone see my portal?
Yes.
Okay. Let me find my drive here. So if you go to your shared drives over here on the left-hand side, we have our applied ELA for 2022-23, and there's also our old folder applied English year. But if you've used something that you feel like has worked for the narrative, I want you to just kind of drop it in this folder for me so that we can have it moving forward into next year. And then moving into their next units, which are short stories, novel excerpts, or you might be going into like a multi-genre. I've also added some folders there for you guys here. So in the applied short stories, I've just kind of dropped some things in here from some of the district resources, or some of the things that have worked for me in the past for English 1, but you're more than welcome to use that stuff. And if you have anything that you think is going to be great for those units, please drop it in there as well. I really loved in the multi-genre unit, this Dear Basketball activity. It has from Kobe Bryant with his, and it deals with personification. And so you're more than welcome to make a copy of this where they write their own personification poem, and they write it to something, dear soccer, dear my cell phone, dear whatever. And so it kind of takes them through that, but maybe just one of the things that they could possibly do. There's also some short stories in here that I think would be really beneficial as well. But if anyone else has any ideas about those units, feel free to speak up or to drop some things in those folders for everyone. But yeah, I think that is all I have for you guys. If there's any other questions, you're more than welcome to stick around. I'll stick around for a couple minutes, or if anyone has anything to share. But if no one else says anything, I want to let you have a few minutes before getting into the day. But thank you guys so much for coming.
Wendy, I have a question for you real quick. On the read theory, where it asks for their grade level, are you putting their actual grade level, or are you putting where they're reading at?
I had them just put in their grade level, like 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. And it will give them passages that are much harder than what they can do, but it automatically starts adjusting. Like they're like, I can't do this, or I can't, I don't understand. I said, just keep trying. But then it gives them a passage easier and easier till they get to the right one that they're successful at. And
Okay.
then that's where it kind of levels them. And then it starts giving them reading passages at that level. And as they are successful, then it raises the level.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
Joel, I'm gonna share with you the agenda in the chat. And if you click the agenda, you can click on that first box that says attendance, and then you could just mark your name down in there with your campus.
Do we not need to do a QR code or anything, or?
No, I would sign in normally with your English department coordinator for PLT.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you, Sherry, so much.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.
Bye. Oh, you're still muted, Joel.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. I still a lot of questions.
Sure.
I'm going back, and I'm glad that you're showing these resources, because I keep forgetting about that folder, and I'm scrambling. So I was so glad to see that folder about the short stories.
Yes, and as we go
That's the one
along, I'm
we're on
gonna
now.
keep trying to drop things in there. And I know all of us together can come up with some great stuff. And there's also the folder from last year, so don't
Okay.
forget that that's in there too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Okay.
thanks a lot. I appreciate
Of
it.
course. Bye.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Doing okay, Marjorie?
It won't let me sign out.
Oh, okay. I'll go ahead and end it for you then.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.